So today we're going to talk about getting through the holidays and starting the new year when you want to quit your job. And this is an opportunity for us to share with you some of the things that we know have worked for many of the professionals that we've worked with over the years, and to hopefully just give you some inspiration and maybe a new direction to take for this coming month and going into the 2023. So let's get started on that. So the first thing I want you to think about when you're thinking about, okay, I really want to quit my job, which, by the way, there are a lot of people out there who we're hearing that from. If you are thinking, I am burned out, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing, or whatever your reason is, the first thing that we're going to recommend that you consider is just doing a little bit of a mindset reset. So manage your mindset. Now, there are a lot of different ways that people do this, and I know that there are probably some people who are watching this right now going, ugh, everybody always talks about mindset. I don't want to have to do that. But it's really important, and here's why mindset's important. If you want to make some kind of a change, if it's in your company that you want to make a change, or if you want to leave and go outside your company and look for another job, I can tell you the universe works in really interesting ways. And if you are coming across as being anxious or frustrated, or you have kind of this, what I would call catabolic energy, things aren't going to come to you the same way they will if you are coming at it with more of a positive vibe. So the managing your mindset is really important so that you are letting things come to you that might not otherwise come. So just going to give you a couple of tips on ways that you can do this. So the first thing I'm going to say, and I know you probably heard this before, so it's not necessarily new information. I want you to end each day thinking of 3 things that went well. There's so much science and data behind positive thinking that if you are going into this month and you're saying, I really want to leave my job, or I'm really frustrated, I want you to at least end each day with 3 things that went well. I don't care if that's, hey, I tied my shoes and I didn't trip. Whatever it is, 3 things that went well that day. It's important for you to end the day reminding yourself that not everything seemed quite so disappointing. So end the day with those 3 things. The next thing you want to do is that I want you to set up 2 things that you're going to do the next day. Because if you go to sleep thinking of 2 things I want to do the next day, you're more likely to do them. And sometimes that can be career focused. It could be a lot of different things, but ending that day with the 3 things that went well and the 2 things that you're going to do the next day gets your brain thinking in a more actionary way, as opposed to more of a less of a defeatist way. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to start, whoops, hang on, I just clicked that off somehow. I want you to start each day with some kind of an affirmation. I know many of you have heard of that before. Some people love it. Some people think it's kind of a little odd, but I want you to come up with something that's a positive thing that you can say to yourself. Doesn't matter what it is. You can say, I've got a great smile, or I am terrific at what I do, or I am going to make somebody else's day bright today. It can be any kind of an affirmation, something that is positive that you say each day. But then you're going to remind yourself of those 2 things that you said you were going to do. And that's so that each day you're going into it intentionally. So many people kind of go through the motions of every day. And this is an opportunity for you to think, okay, what can I do that's going to hopefully make a difference on a day-to-day basis? And I will guarantee you that at the end of 30 days, you will see that things have evolved differently if you just do these 2 things at the end of the day and the beginning of the next day. So that is sort of step number 1 in what you want to focus on. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to assess your situation. What's really driving your unhappiness? Is it the people that you work with? Is it the money that you're making? Is it boredom? Is it frustration? Is it your commute or working remotely? What is it that's driving your unhappiness? I think it's really interesting. We Holy and Associates, we've been here for 7 years now. And so we are working with people every day, hearing what their stories are. And so often people say that they want to make some kind of a change, but they struggle to actually admit to them what that unhappiness is. And sometimes it is the job, and sometimes it's not the job. Sometimes it's other things in your life. And I want you to be really clear on that, because if there are other things happening in your life that are actually bogging you down, that may not be your job, but your job is being affected by what else is happening in your life. And if you can be honest with yourself about what is driving this unhappiness or this need to make some kind of a change, it's going to help you decide what those next steps are going forward. So figuring out that unhappiness, what is it at work? What is it in your personal life? And what's contributing to that stuck feeling that you might have. And then I want you to ask yourself the question, what would happen, or what would it look like if I stayed? So if you stay in your job, what does that mean for you? Does that mean that you are kind of bearing the weight of being frustrated or discouraged? Does that mean that you would have income though, and you need that for your family? There can be so many different things, but I want you to really think of what would it look like if I stayed, so that you are clear on that. It's not that you're trying to talk yourself in or out of something, but being clear on what would it look like in this next year if I stayed. Then contrasting that is, what would it look like if I leave? Because these are the things that people don't always consider. They kind of think, gosh, I just kind of want to run. I just want to bolt. I just want to look for that next thing and get out of here. And I think it's much more important for you to be intentional about it. Kind of a side note, one of the reasons why I started Holy and Associates is that I would be talking to people who would say, I started my career in this place and it evolved. People tapped me on the shoulder to do things. And I kind of ended up going down this path. And I am 15, 20 years into my career, and I'm not doing what I want to do, what I like to do, what I feel like I'm good at doing. I've gotten so far away from my real talents and strengths and interests, and I don't know how I got here. And so it's important to talk about that, because what we want to do is to help you to be more intentional in that next step. And the next step isn't just, I'm going to go to another company, but it's really, what is this going to look like? What is this next role going to look like? What is my next role potentially going to look like? What type of people do I want to be with? What is the culture of that company? What does this mean for me? And one of the things I've noticed with the pandemic, and there's been a lot of data out there and a lot of articles, and I'm sure you've all read them, about sort of this great reset that has happened, of people reevaluating, what do I want to do? I actually think that was a really good thing for a lot of people, because it was the catalyst for change. It was the catalyst and the permission to make some other or take some other direction in their career. So asking yourself what's going on and really assessing your situation is going to help you figure out what you want to do next. And as you do that, I want you to recap your year. There are a lot of reasons why you want to do this, but I want you to make a list of all the projects you worked on, what you're most proud of, the lessons and takeaways from the year. That means, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want you to list out everything. And part of that is to remind yourself of what has actually happened this year. And this is not going to be part of the slides here, but I want you to use that to think of, okay, what do I need to put on my resume? What do I need to do if I'm refreshing my LinkedIn profile? If I get into an interview situation and people start asking me, what I've been doing, do I have those stories? Do I remember what I worked on? And that in the interview process, you are going to be asked about the things that you did that went really well, and you're going to get asked a whole lot of questions about what went wrong and what were your lessons learned. So you want to have a list of that. And if you don't do this on an annual basis already, make this something that's part of your December agenda, so that every year, at the end of the year, you write all of this out and you keep a log of it. I say that because when we go into interviewing coaching, so many people say, I don't remember what I did 4 years ago, or I don't remember what I did in that job. If you are keeping some kind of a record of those projects that you worked on and those things that you felt were unique and positive, as well as those things where maybe, gosh, this really taught you something else, it's going to be so much easier to go into the interview process. So recapping the year is essential for every year, and to help you think, okay, how am I going to go forward, and what are those things that that really capture this last year. That what you're most proud of, though, is really important, because whatever you are most proud of is most likely an indication of something that you want to get back to. And whatever your reason is for being proud of that, whether it is the completion of it, it's the way you interacted with people, it's the praise that you got, the fact that you got to do something that you truly loved and you don't always get to do that, what you're most proud of is sending you some signals of this may be part of what you want to look for in that next role, whether that's getting a promotion or moving around in your current company, or it's going out on the job search and looking for a role somewhere else. And then I want you to pinpoint what you need. So what do you need in that next job? What does that perfect job look like? I like to kind of focus on that perfection. What is the ideal? And it can't be unrealistic. You can't say, well, gosh, I'd like to work 10 hours a week and, work from, my bed, or, whatever it may be that might be unrealistic. But what does that perfect job really look like for you? What is that? And I always focus on people first. So one of the things that I would want you to have as a takeaway in this is people make or break the job. And I've heard so many people over the years say, oh, I can work with anybody. That is not true. You cannot work with just anybody. People make or break it. If you are working with people who you really enjoy, who you feel like you've got this great collaboration with, and they've got your back and you've got their back, and you don't actually love the work that you do, you're still going to stay there longer because of those people. They make it worth it. Conversely, you could have a job where you love the work that you do, but you don't like or trust or believe in or feel connected to the people that you work with. And if that's the case, you're going to be looking for another job pretty quickly if you aren't already. So people make a difference. And so when you're looking at that next role, that next company or department, you want to look at the people, and not just the people who are there, but when you look at the people who are there, is that also an indication of how that manager or that leadership team's hires? Because people are going to come and go, and you want to make sure that it's an environment where the people that you feel are the right people for you come and go into that organization or that team. So keep that in mind. People make the difference, and that should always be high on your list. But you also want to know what your must-haves are, what your deal breakers are. What is it going to be? What's going to be most important for you in this next position? Maybe you are later in your career, you're over 50, and you're really looking at things like, what's your retirement? Maybe you didn't invest in your retirement when you were younger, and you're like, I gotta make up for it now. What does that look like? I need to get into a certain role with maybe a certain type of a compensation package and a company that has certain types of benefits so that I can maximize that. Or it could be something when you think of the must-haves, I need to learn things. I need to grow my career and I need to take it in a new direction. And so I actually need to be in a position where I am exposed to things that I'm not exposed to today. And so I'm looking for that job that's going to help me learn and grow and be challenged so that my career is going down whatever path it is that I'm trying to take. But then what are your deal breakers? I'm always going to tell you that people should be one of the deal breakers. If you don't like the people, run for the hills. But there could be other deal breakers as well. And you want to be clear for yourself on what those are and do that now. And then I want you to prioritize your goals for the coming year. So thinking back to, what do you want to learn? What do you want to experience? Who do you need to meet? So that you are thinking about what you need to do to sort of, move the needle. A lot of times we go into the new year and we think, okay, this is like the new year, new you. I don't want to be in the same place at the end of this year. But sometimes you can't just go chase that next role without getting some of those other things kind of teed up for you. So if you want to get exposed to a certain project at work, you gotta try to make that happen. Maybe you need to take a class. Maybe you need to read a bunch of books on things so that you learn some other areas. Maybe you need to talk to other people who are doing the things that you want to do and kind of almost get those informational interviews, or just kind of pick the brain of other people who are doing what you want to do, and find out what's the best way for me to get there. Because sometimes making a career pivot isn't a single step. It's more than one step. But you need to make sure that each step that you take is arcing you into the direction that you want to go. So prioritizing your goals for the coming year. And then I want you to reach out to people who have made a difference for you. And there's a very important reason for this. Sometimes we forget what we've done, and we don't always think of things that other people think of. Is another reason why you want to reach out to these people is if you trusted them, if you liked them, if that manager and that mentor, business colleagues, it could be even vendors that you've worked with, have made a difference for you. I think it will help build confidence and give you sometimes that umph that you need to make the change. But they're also going to remind you of some of the things that they saw in you. So you might ask questions like, hey, when you think to our time working together, what did you see in me? Or what did you think about that project that we worked on? What did you think I did really well? Where do you think that I could have improved? Like, get that feedback from people, because they want to help you. If these are people that you trust and value, they're going to share that information. And it can make a big difference with the confidence that you have. And so that kind of goes back to that mindset. You have to control your mindset right now. If you want to leave your job, what are those things that you can do to control it? And so part of what we've talked about is taking action steps to get clear on things, because the more you are taking action, the more you feel like you are trying to move the needle into, what you want to do next. The other thing is talking to people who are going to remind you of how great you are, the things that you have done that they've seen that have made an impact. And so you need that for that mindset. So it kind of arcs all the way back to the beginning. And then I want you to share your thoughts and intentions with key people. A lot of times people say, I want to make a job change, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that. And I'm going to kind of keep it really close. If you want to leave your current position and you haven't talked to your manager yet, I would go have a conversation with your direct supervisor and say, hey, I'm looking at what I'm doing here, and I feel like there's more that I can do, that I want to do. And I feel like I'm a little stuck, and I'm trying to get some of these other projects or get exposed to these other things. Maybe for you, you're trying to get exposed to other things because ultimately you want to leave. But you're also trying to get that manager to realize that they have an opportunity to help you do more and be more satisfied. I think it's fascinating how many managers say, somebody left my team and I didn't know that they were unhappy. Or I found out later on that somebody on my team wanted to work on a project. I had no idea. I had no idea they wanted to get promoted. I had no idea they wanted to go in a different direction. Surprise, surprise, something changed, and I had no idea. I think most managers out there are pretty well intentioned, and they want to know and they want to help. So if it's that direct manager or somebody up the line, let people know. If you can get more experience in your current company, that's often ideal because you don't have to change everything all at once. But don't let it be a surprise to them. I can say this from having supervised teams for many, many years. I truly appreciate when somebody came to me and said, you know what? I just don't love what I'm doing right now, and I don't know how to change that. It gave me the opportunity to have multiple conversations with them about what we could do to make them happy. Many of them stayed and ultimately left, but at least I got more time and they got more time. And I never look at that as, oh, well, I'm going to start looking for that person's replacement. If I've got somebody who I know is a really good employee, I want to help them. And I think most managers are that way. So try taking that angle. But there are other people that you want to talk to before you make a change. If you have a financial planner, you want to talk to that person about maybe what it looks like if you take a hit on compensation, or you decide you absolutely have to leave now without another job. That financial planner will help you out. If you don't have a financial planner, now would be a good time to get one. If you don't have one, let me know. I know dozens, so I can help you out. But you also may want to talk to your tax advisor. Is there a tax consequence for leaving your job and making some kind of a change? Are there things that you need to know? You may even need to talk to an attorney. Maybe that attorney can look at your employee agreement and see if there's anything in that employee agreement that you have signed when you started with the company that has conditions that you may not be aware of. Or maybe when you're taking that next job, you're going to want to have that attorney kind of teed up so that they can look at the offer letter and the employee agreement with that company. So kind of give these people a heads up. But the most important people for you to tell is your spouse, your partner, your family, those people close to you. Let them know what's going on. People want to help and they don't want to be surprised. So make sure that you're sharing your thoughts and intentions with all of these other people so that they can be your backbone and they can help you out. And then most importantly, as you are looking at the end of this year and this next year, partner with the right people. When I say that, you have those family and friends that are great supporters. You have some of those families and friends who they aren't. And so know when this is somebody that maybe you want to go, shoot hoops with, and maybe that is not somebody that you want to share these other things with. So sometimes you have to partner with the right people that are in your close circle. But you may also want to partner with people outside of that. Maybe you want to find a coach. Maybe you want to come to the more Just Ask Julia's. Maybe you want to find somebody else out there who can help you work on your mindset. It can be a number of different options, out there for you in terms of who would you partner with, but always find those right people. And I think of it this way. I think who lights your candle, who lights the flame, and who dims it. If there's somebody out there who is dimming your flame, that's not the person to be around right now. Try to avoid that person. Try to be around those people who are making your flames, shine brighter or bigger, because those are the people who give you the confidence and the positivity and help your mindset. And so being around those people is really essential. So I hope that has helped. We are going to turn off the recording for a moment, and then we will start it up back again.